Hello out there. My name is Sharon Froshin. I am the Chief Operating Officer for the Discover Your PathU platform, where we believe that every life can teach and everyone can grow. To that end, I am also the host of this show, The Connection Sessions, in which we bring together practitioners, entrepreneurs, marketers, spiritualists, mentors, and students in an effort to connect to community, to learn from each other, and grow. With me today, I have the Chief Spiritual Officer for the Discover Your PathU platform, Andrea Hendron. And for those of you out there who might be asking, what is a Chief Spiritual Officer? This is something that has actually come into the commercial industries for probably about the last decade. And a Chief Spiritual Officer is someone who's responsible for advising the employees of that company on how to flow, how to settle into their role in that company, and how to thrive on both a spiritual, mental, and physical level as a part of that company and as individuals. All of which I have to say Andrea does beautifully. So I am so excited to get to introduce Andrea. And if you wouldn't mind telling us, how did you come to Discover Your PathU, and what have been some of the greatest experiences that you've had since you've been here?
Oh, this whole experience has been an awesome unfolding for myself. And Sharon, you are the person that has brought me here through your astrological readings, right? And just coming to DYPU and being with the diverse people that are here and coming in with my knowledge of spirit, and there's many people here that have knowledge of spirit, but with that, it was just amazing, the combination of energies that are there and the synchronicities that are there, and the unfoldings that have happened not only for DYPU, I think for each one of us as we grow in our own understandings of how this all works and how life works.
Absolutely. So how did you come to life coaching?
A change in life, a change in timing in my life. I was finishing up my massage career. I knew in my gut that it was the time for change. It was a time where I had been doing a lot for people and they didn't have to take responsibility.
Mm.
The modalities I had been using, mostly in my Midwestern area, were ones that it was massage. It was Swedish massage. It was a little bit of all the other things I would love to have brought into it, but they really were here just for me to fix them.
Mm.
And so it was an evolution in my life where it's like I needed to step back from that and step into something where there was something more. And I honestly started looking at life coaching because several of my clients had done the life coaching route and I saw the change in them. I really didn't understand, and so I started taking courses and understanding, and then was really saddened because I couldn't find my own spirituality in it.
Mm.
And that led me to all the DYPU because of the freedom to incorporate my spirituality into coaching.
That is quite a freedom, is it not?
It is, and it has to be that way for me because that is my understanding of the universe, and that is my understanding to help people as well. It's like we need to go deep. We need to find our spirit.
So as an energy worker, a body worker, somebody who has focused the majority of her career on simply giving to people on an energetic level rather than requiring an involvement from them, not because of any fault of your own, but just because that's the way those modalities work. How have you developed that ability over time to begin to pull the responsibility out of your clients in a way that helps them bloom and grow?
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, there were some modalities I used. They were not the popular ones, but there were some. And Milton Traeger had one that I still am in awe of because to work in that modality, the practitioner, which was me, had to enter a state of almost meditation. You had to be connected. And to touch that person, you had to be in a space of knowing that that person was perfect. And that the first question you would ask was, how light or how soft can you be? And what was another profound teaching that really speaks to how I like to handle energy work or coaching at this present moment is when something is tough or tight and they're not moving, you go lighter, you go softer. And the profound part of it was if you were, just as a metaphor for working with coaching, you would take two joints neck and a shoulder possibly, and the back of your shoulder was really tight, and you would hold them, right? That's presence. That is holding people in that space of love. And you don't expect it to unwind, but you're holding it for them. So that muscle unravels if it wants to, but there's nothing, you are holding it for them. So they have nothing to hold on to. There's no, the tightness is gone. So it's their choice. And I see that actually applicable to coaching, of holding people in a space of non-judgment, of it's your choice. I can present things that might be holding you back, but it's yours.
Mm.
How can I hold that for you in a loving way that says it's safe now to let go?
That's such a good point. I just want to really quickly say hello to Susan Spurrier, Monique Prinsloo, and Karen Richards, who are watching with us. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. I love what you talk about, that it's theirs to choose, because so often, myself as an alcoholic who has almost 16 years sober, one of the things that I would see in AA a lot were people who came in for the kids or for the parents or for the spouse or for the boss, trying to get sober for a reason other than they were done and it was time to change.
Right.
And I love how you bring that space of flow, ease, and grace into a session, because I have been your client before, where you allow that person not only the unfolding of the change itself, but also the unfolding of the realization that this belongs to me. Because there is sacredness in that realization that this cannot come from anyone but me, and no one has the right or the privilege of deciding when I change but me. So how is it that you have become so good at creating that space for people and giving them such a sense of safety?
I think it comes from all the massage years, really, because that is was my sacred space of holding people in that place. And it's quiet. I mean, you're not going to be jibber-jabbering while you're doing a massage, right? You're not.
I hope not.
You're not. Well, there are some that do. But it's a holding. And so there was a silence that came. And that silence is beautiful, as well as my own meditation, my own spiritual work, and my own unfoldment, I believe, to hold that space.
You're also a Reiki master as well, correct?
I am. I did that way before the massage, yeah.
So how did you bring Reiki into massage, and how has the presence of Reiki and being that channel of energy helped to widen and deepen your ability to coach other people?
You step into massage, it was just there. It came out my hands. And if I touched them, there was no stopping that energy from flowing. And yes, clients who weren't familiar with it would often say, my God, your hands are hot. And it's like, yeah, so that is. But right now, I would say I have used it in coaching where if they only know themselves as physical form, right? Just physical, we're just here. Then I enter in and say, hey, can I do some Reiki just for a minute? Let's just experience what this feels like. And my experience so far has been it blows them away. It's like, whoa, how there's space and time between us, right? Sharon, you and I are not in the same room, although we look like we are. But you've experienced that Reiki can come just like that if I started it.
Yes.
And so that is a revelation for the people receiving it, that possibly we're not just this physical form. So that's one way I can use Reiki. There are many ways. I mean, it can lighten and brighten the situation. It can uplift people. It can give them a little bit more energy to just handle what they're going through. It doesn't change their, no, I shouldn't say that. It can. It can change their reality. It can. It's really up to them, though. It is never something that I can force on anybody, as in anything. It is an energy that I'm putting out, and that person has to say, on some level, yes, I receive.
Sammy D just joined us, and she said, when Andrea's doing Reiki on me, my hands get hot. So you have practiced this, and I know you've done it with myself, with the Chief Financial Officer, Sarah Whalen, as well as the Secretary to the Board, Beth Gray, where you have been able to transmit Reiki energy through cotton cloth. And that's actually now a portion of the business services that you provide, correct?
It can be. Yes, it can be. There's many I would say there's tools, but that's my toolbox. It can
Mhm.
be. And that's something I learned from Robert Bankston. I don't know if his first name is Robert, but Mr. Bankston. And I had not known that before. They can be transmitted that way. And so I think you all were some of my first,
Yes.
let's experiment with this and let's just see what happens, because it was not known to me. And it's amazing. You can do that through the mail and through all the stuff that mail goes through.
Hmm.
And that's another mystery, right? About our existence. It is, how does that happen? And you can do it to water. You can do it all kinds of things to shift the energy. So what does that say about our minds and our abilities to shift, our abilities to be more? The potential is endless. It really is for us to be more.
It really is. Steve Alexander Simmons just joined us, and he says that's pretty darn cool. And it is. That is really awesome. I know that one of the studies that you and I have both spent a lot of time with that really fascinates both of us is the study of the Japanese scientist on what can and can't be done to water based upon blessing or cursing it, and how
Right.
water from the nuclear reactor that basically broke open in Japan was actually taken and blessed, and it went from that structure of radioactive particles and presence in the water to looking as pure as you can possibly get it.
So what does that say about for us and the fact that we are made of water mostly?
Exactly.
And
That is profound, is it not?
it is. And does that mean we're making life more difficult than it has to be? Can life be easier? Can life be gentler or softer? And that it comes through for me with Traeger. It comes through for me in my teachings
Hmm.
that I've received, that I have received. Does it have to be as hard as we make it?
Would
I
you
don't know.
share with the audience what Traeger is?
Yeah, Traeger is a body work. I am not a practitioner of it. I have learned it and I used it in my practice, but I'm not a full-fledged Traeger practitioner. But Traeger involves rocking the body, right? Rocking. It affects the central nervous system. And in that rocking, you relax into things. You relax into possibly a new neural pathway.
Mm. Now, is
And that
that
is,
because of the way that it stimulates the vagus nerve?
yes, yes, because they start digesting, they start gurgling in the stomach, they will, that all gets affected. And you work with one side of the body first so that there's also some neuro-linguistic programming on it, right?
Hmm.
You have one side of the body just feeling, oh my God, and the other side is just feeling that same tension it was feeling before. And when you're done, you make sure that they are aware, and they are aware how soft they feel and how fluid they feel. And you go, can you take a mental note of that?
Mm.
Can you put that in your mind so that you can recall that? Because you can. And it needs to be repeated, just like in coaching. Everything we learn in one session or observe needs to be repeated or put into a stone or something that is on a daily basis. Oh, yeah, I remember. I have
Mm.
forgotten. Oh, yeah, I remember. Because what's usually stronger are the old neural pathways.
Mhm.
And so
Indeed.
to reintegrate or to strengthen the new ones, need to do something on a daily basis, unless you have an absolute miracle, which I believe miracles can happen. But in the interim, you do those things, not because you're fearful of going into something bad, but because it feels better, which is again is lighter.
Yes. It is amazing the power that the mind has to genuinely co-create the reality in which we exist.
Through you, I'm doing some new research on the end and in the emerald tablets, I believe they are.
Yes.
And they're talking in further readings with that mind is everything. Mind creates on many levels, from the superficial to the very deep. And who also said that was Sid Banks in his enlightened state. He said it's a part of this triangle of all that we are, of consciousness and so on, was mind and our thoughts.
Mm. I believe that the Emerald Tablets of Thoth actually are the precursors to the study of Hermeticism, the first rule of which is that the all is mind, the universe is mental. So when we stop to consider the fact that we might actually be living in a cosmic mind,
Mhm.
a soul that experiences, that thinks, that considers.
Right.
One of the things that I've been studying recently is Alan Watts, who teaches that because everything is energy, including the universal soul, the universal existence, is there a possibility that our souls do not dwell in our bodies, but rather our bodies dwell within the one cosmic soul? And that has me absolutely fascinated right now. I cannot get enough of that.
Because who is talking to who here, Sharon?
Yeah.
Are we not God talking to God?
Yeah.
Are we not having this discourse and enjoying it?
Yes.
Yeah, we are. We are. And I do believe that we need to spend more time in finding joy in our existence.
That
In our
play.
existence. And play. You betcha. You betcha.
I wish I could remember the Jesuit priest who made the quote now that true spirituality does not become spirituality until it is put into play, till it becomes a game that we play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Play
that's
is
so
see
true.
in Traeger and that work there, it was all play. I was sitting there with my hands like this, floating with that person, with
Mhm.
their neck, with their body. And if you look at good coaching, if you are very serious, I'm sorry, where and how are things going to lighten up, right? I mean,
True.
I know we have deep shit we're holding on to, and I know there needs to be a space for that to be released, right?
Mhm.
But
There
laughter
does.
and tears come very close to the same thing. Laughter and tears come very close to the same thing when they're expressed. Big
Indeed.
laughter can release a lot.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
And we have actually had some pretty good laugh sessions ourselves where it's really hard
We
to stop
have.
giggling.
We have. And it throws energy. It just releases things and you feel like a new person, like you've been washed, right? Clean. Just like a good cry. But then a good cry also can be very, just, it feels so flippin' good to let that cry out.
It
Right?
does.
So is that really sadness or is there joy intermingled with that?
Can there be sadness without joy? Can there be joy without sadness? If we don't have the polarity of one, would we, so for instance, the prevailing theory with most Buddhists behind how we came to be as human beings is that oneness, or all that is, became so bored with oneness that it individuated into human form, much like a mask, in
Mm-hmm.
order to experience itself rather than just being oneness. So if oneness needed to break down into separation in order for separation to return to oneness, do we live in a polar universe where light and dark are really the same thing? They're just varying degrees of the presence of light. And why do we attach ourselves to one pole more thoroughly than to the other?
Let me add to this because that mix is profound. What if there really isn't a division? Because where is that line between light and dark?
There isn't
Really?
one.
There isn't one. It's gradations of light. It's
Mm-hmm.
gradations of light. And what if we stood in light, which is a whole different concept than good, bad, right, or wrong. That's a whole, I guess it would be redefining what light is, redefining what light is. We're
Mm-hmm.
getting complex here. That's what we're doing.
Yes. Sammy D says, I used to rock on the train when I was commuting. No one would sit next to me.
Rocking is autistic kids do it all the time because they're trying to calm down their central
Yeah.
nervous system. And
Yeah.
that brings me to something too that I have studied in the past, and it was through autism that Barry Neil Kaufman and his wife Samaria created a methodology. And this methodology started with their child, and he was just a 2-year-old, and he was rocking, and they couldn't get him to stop. He was after some immunizations or something where it's really heavily laden with chemicals. And the mom would try everything to reduce the stimulation on this little guy to help him calm himself. And so, yes, his rocking was necessary, but she brought him into the bathroom where it was the least amount of stimulus, right? And would sit with him and try and introduce a toy or something, anything to try and pull him out.
Mm.
And there was an effort on her of her part. And she finally, after no success, she sat there and went, you know what? If you won't join me in this world, I'll join you in yours. And she sat there, crossed her legs, and started rocking and looking straight ahead. And you know what that little boy did? He stopped his rocking for a moment and he looked at his mom.
A
I have
connection.
I have gotten so much teaching and learning for myself that in my abilities to be the best I can and doing it ever so poorly at times. I had tried to use that modality throughout my child's life of just allowing them to go through whatever it is they needed to go through without judging them.
Mm.
And I think I still try. I'm not perfect at anything, really. I don't think any of us are, except we are perfect, right? To bring that to the table of, all right, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I will join you for a short time in your presence, in where you are.
I will
I don't
meet
know
you.
what's going to happen next. Right. I don't know what's going to happen next. But if I stand here in this moment with you without judgment, what's the universe going to do? What is presence going to do here now for us? We don't know.
That's
But it's
really all we
probably,
have, is the
yeah, it's
ability to
probably,
open that door.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, that little boy teaches at the school and is a college graduate. He is no longer autistic.
Mm.
They were able
And
to work with him.
and is that connection, that healing state, is that why connecting to another human being, much like life coaches do, is so profoundly transformative at that moment of, I will be with you here now, exactly as you are.
That brings tears to my eyes, Sharon. That is it. It's
Yes.
an awesome, I've been in meditations with you, hon, and they have been awesome presence of moment that have been profound, just profound. It's that column of light I speak of being there
Yes.
with another person in that space of just going, I'm going to get religious here. Oh my God, God is good. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, oh, oh. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's truly funny to me is we have assigned the idea of past and future. But when we are considering the past, where are we doing it from? The present. And when we are worrying about the future, where are we doing that from? The present. So we spend so much time trying to force ourselves to be present, failing to understand that we are not able to be anywhere but the present moment. It's impossible to travel to past or future when neither truly exists. They are only regret or fear.
It is a place of surrender, right?
Indeed.
It's a place of surrender. And I'm growing in that. Surrender is profound, and surrender is, I'm growing in that.
One of my favorite statements that you use that I love so much is that this person, whoever I might be talking about, is God, and God knows what God is doing. And we spend so much time either thinking to ourselves or even being so bold as to express to another being, you should be.
Yeah. How do you
When
know? How do you know?
exactly,
How do
how
you
do
know?
we
It's
know?
the right, wrong, goods, and bads. It's like, how do you know? Um, all I can say is in my path of and how I talk to people, it's like take the next step that feels lighter than the last one. The lighter step, it can be as strange as I just took a dog sitting job. It's like, but now I found out there's this person that's doing it, does lives and does podcasts, and it's like, well, huh. And then the other dog sitter is and very interested in energy, and in our conversation she said, oh my God, you took me out of the place I was to where I am at. I feel so much better. So how did I know that beforehand? I just knew that out of curiosity it was the next step. Go
And
figure.
I love your childlike wonder in the world and how it upsets your children that sometimes you say, I'm not doing it if it's not fun. And there's an ability to look at, from the state of my adulthood on, well, that's just not responsible. But the
Right.
truth is,
It'll
why
move me farther. It'll
why
move me
would you
along
want to
farther.
force yourself?
Yeah.
What good does that do us when we try to force ourselves? Really?
It hurts the body. It hurts the energy fields. It doesn't allow flow. It
Mm.
doesn't allow flow. Bankston did studies with mice, right? And he injected them all with cancer, and they worked with energy work with these mice. And one of the prerequisites for the people working on them was not a firm sense that energy work works, right? They weren't Reiki masters. They were just somebody that had to have curiosity, which is a lightness, like, let's see what this does.
Yeah.
It worked. It worked. And energy, that's a whole nother story, but I mean, it did work. It did work. It's in a curiosity and a lightness of spirit. Very, very important, because when we get serious, that's when things get hard, hon. That's when I think when we go down the river of life, we get sunk on the rocks and the undercurrent and maybe get thrown on shore for a while.
Now that's a Hopi prophecy, correct?
Mm-hmm,
The
mm-hmm,
river of
mm-hmm.
life and hanging on to the banks of the river rather than being in flow in the center of the river with our head
You
up.
betcha.
That's one of my favorite stories that you tell.
And being with our friends and being with the people that we see in the center of the river with us, and it going, thank you. Thank you for being there with me, because it is not easy sometimes to let go of the shore, and that when we let go, we flow, right?
Mm.
We move. We're not holding on to, I got to have it this way. Change can't happen. Oh, hell no, change can't happen. Change happens, and that's stay in the flow, stay in the
Whether
center
we
of the
like it
river.
or not. I love our confusion as adults that gets us locked into the idea that if I worry about the past enough or the future enough, that it's going to change something. When the truth is, you're going to travel through the same body of water at the same speed you were going to travel, whether you're looking back or looking forward or sitting in your boat right then and there. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter, but we get so caught up in needing a semblance of control in this lifetime that, well, I can change something if I worry about the past or the future.
In
And
all compassion for the people that want control or want approval or want security or safety, it's like it is not found by holding on to the sides of the river. And it does help. I will say this for coaching. I wish I had had coaching all through my massage career. It does help having people along the way that said, come on, I can help you. Come on, come on. Not pushing, not shoving, just going, come on, you can do this. It is not as bad as you think it is. Let's
right,
see what the next right step is for you. What is it? What is that next right step? You got it in front of you. Now, which one feels lighter? And yeah, I might do coaching from a whole different perspective because I include all those odd statements, but
it
I
works
love
on
them.
me.
I love them. They are part of who I am, and I have to be who I am. And we all have to be who we are. Right?
Yes, indeed. Well, Andrea, we have already burned through our 30 minutes. It seems to go faster each time. I would like to thank you for stepping in, especially on such short notice. Alyssa was supposed to be with us today and is actually not feeling well. So Andrea, our Chief Financial Officer, stepped in to kind of
Spiritual officer,
save my butt.
spiritual officer. I'm not financial. You're the
Oh, I'm
financial.
sorry, Chief Spiritual Officer. My apologies.
That
Stepped
would be
in to help me out.
horrible. That would be horrible.
Oh, if either of us were, we would be in
Oh
so
God,
much trouble.
that's not
Sweet
me.
baby Jesus. Anyways, to everyone who joined us here today, to Sammy D, to Steve, to Susan, to Karen, to Monique, thank all of you for being here
Very
with us
much.
today.
Thank you.
If you catch this video after we are no longer live, please just drop us a hashtag replay and let us know that you came by. And if you heard something today in this video that either helps you or that you think might help the people that you know and love, please feel free to share it to your heart's content. So
Definitely.
again, Andrea, thank you so much for being with me here today. Thank you for all the comments that our viewers left in the video. And we will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time again. Thank you so much. And as always, love you guys.